Thank you. You all saved my life. I got the whole damn world in my hands.
Bray Wyatt is one of the most interesting wrestlers the WWE had ever signed. This guy didn't belong in wrestling. His mind was far beyond some PG corporate creative team. Every time he'd have a captivating idea, they would ruin it within a few months. Every single time. There's two sides though. On one hand, it's like, how do you even book this guy in a WWE sense? Like, why does a cult leader want to even win a title or just wrestle to begin with? He became just another wrestler that would be entertaining for a few minutes and then kicked to the curb for a bigger star. You gotta look outside the box sometimes though. Like, what actually makes a good cult leader? You know, I've never been in a cult personally, but I'd probably join a female cult though. That would be kind of interesting. But cult leaders are characterized by charismatic manipulation to gain loyalty, narcissistic authoritarian tendencies to maintain absolute control, a deep-seated need for status, money, or power. And Bray Wyatt had none of these things. Like, alright, to me, Bray had it all as a character. Like, he nailed the cult leader part. He felt scary, he had charisma, he had the exploitation, but he just never had the power. Like, the final boss will make a crazy cult leader. He has power. Bray, on the other hand, didn't. How was anybody gonna take him seriously if he had no power and he lost all of his matches? And he never really gained any new followers. All Bray had was a busted-ass rocking chair, a Halloween lantern, and two overgrown goons who couldn't build a tent. But with a couple tweaks, this could have been an all-timer gimmick. Raw had to feel like Bray's show. To make this work, it would have taken so much out of the WWE, so I understand why. Like, the commentators should talk with like a lower, eerie tone, and they should be always scared, and Bray should be in control of Raw with real power. He shouldn't wrestle a match unless he needed to. Bray Wyatt doesn't need a championship. He needs obedience. He needs loyalty. Make him feel like he's a big deal. Unfortunately, Bray Wyatt just never was trusted to be the #1 guy. Another reason he failed though is because the era he was in. They were in peak PG times. Was he just gonna like scare little kids? Like, it was never gonna work. But then actually, he would get that top spot one day. SmackDown in 2016 would completely get rebirthed as it was called the Land of Opportunity. Raw felt like Vince's show, and SmackDown felt like the People's show. Bray Wyatt would actually reach the top here. Elimination Chamber 2017, with names in there like Dean, AJ, and Cena. Bray still found a way to do it. Everybody wanted this. Even as a heel, he got a babyface reaction. This speaks volumes. But eventually, this got ruined as at Mania 33, he had one of the worst matches I have ever seen in my entire life. He had it all on the mic. But once the bell rung, it was so hard to translate it. It's like it never made sense for him to wrestle. Bray would go to the bottom yet again. At least back then, he was always having big matches like Taker at Mania 31, involved with The Rock and Cena at 32, and having feuds with Roman Reigns. To after, doing shit like this. Yeah, this was a bad look. The WWE had ruined Bray Wyatt. All that creativity went down the drain. But the best artists always fail. Like Leonardo da Vinci, many of his pieces were unfinished, but he kept experimenting. That's where the genius comes in. If you try 10 different things and none of them fail, but one of them sticks, you got something. While Bray was at his absolute lowest with the time just passing by, he knew he had to take action. As 2019 hits, we'd get The Fiend. This character saved WWE. Fun fact, this character made me start watching WWE again. On one side, Bray was a cheerful, friendly, children's show host with his puppets, with a kind of goofy tone and over-the-top effects. But then came The Fiend, the much darker, sinister side. This man was troubled. He wanted revenge for all the years of losing. Bray with his puppets was the most interesting thing on Raw. After so long, he was finally getting the spotlight. With his dual personalities came hurt and heel. But not only that, he wanted you to let him in. Bray drew inspiration from classic horror movie villains like Leatherface and the Joker, while also tying trauma and psychology into a wrestling sense. This character made so much more sense in WWE terms, way more than the cult leader did. It was still hard to book, but so much easier to take seriously. And now, it was just him. No goons, no followers, just Bray and the Fiend. This is where he turned up. Bray completely took over the WWE. Bray studied fear, mental illness, and trauma, portraying the Fiend as the embodiment of Bray's inner darkness, born out of pain and rejection. But not only was this a change to Bray, this would change his opponents. Whoever faced him changed in some way. You know how I said earlier Bray had no power? This character fixed that. But not only did he have power, but he was OP. When he pulled up at SummerSlam, it was a spectacle. But once again, oh my God, once again, the WWE screwed him over. Somehow he faced all of his older problems to the cult leader character and they still fumbled again. But not only once, twice. Once at Hell in a Cell and once against Goldberg. After this, he was never the same. If you want to look at it from a storyline perspective, you can make these losses make sense. But from a casual viewpoint, a monster losing to two gurus was a career killer. Let's look at why horror characters are so successful. They keep them protected. Jason Voorhees caught mad bodies, took his slimy ass time, and always came back. Freddy Krueger, the way he would shit talk you and just dog you out, Bray had that same type of vibes. While Michael Myers was somehow silent, simple, and unstoppable. They didn't do anything spectacular. They just kept them scary and protected. It's not really that hard. All the Fiend had to do was be dominant and look cool. Just let him do his thing. It's always been Bray versus the booking. They didn't make any right moves. He went for the title way too soon. He got into a feud with The Miz, which is so trifling. And he lost to a 50-year-old. But let's talk about how his opponents would change. Seth Rollins turned heel. Daniel Bryan? Well, all he did was kind of cut his hair, I'll be honest. I wish Sami Zayn could have feuded with Bray. He needed to cut his hair too. But Bray also feuded with John Cena. This feud meant so much. They created magic with the Fiend once again. John Cena beat Bray Wyatt in 2014, and some would say that Bray Wyatt never recovered from this. One of the best segments I've ever seen was when Bray brought out the kids and John Cena was shook. I had never seen John Cena like this ever again. Even as a kid, Cena looked broken. Bray Wyatt broke John Cena from the core with the same demographic he's been trying to win over for years and years. Bray had the whole world in his hands, but they didn't listen. To this day, this is still one of the best promo packages in wrestling history, with Legacy by Eminem fitting in perfectly with their Mania feud. All of this was revisited in the 2020 feud that they had. There was no fans, so this worked to Bray's advantage. We get a cinematic match. Bray exposed John Cena from within, all his failures and his shortcomings. The road he chose and how it could have been different. At WrestleMania 30, John Cena had the chance to hit Bray Wyatt with a steel chair, but he didn't. What if Cena did pull the trigger and turn heel? That's where the next scene comes in with the NWO gear playing Hollywood Hulk Hogan as he confronted all his fears. As Cena is letting loose, it shows all of his biggest losses flash by, and the next scene, he looks distraught and broken. Once again, the Fiend then pops up, and before he delivers the final blow, everything stops. John Cena eats all of his words, and they reflect back on him. This WrestleMania match is going to end the existence of the most overhyped, overvalued, and overprivileged WWE superstar in existence. All these words came back to haunt John Cena. This is a masterpiece. This low-key reminds me of something like The Shining, the most speculated about and analyzed movie in film history. It's art. You could look at it any way you want to, and there could be several meanings. The Shining came out in 1980, and there are still many people to this day that don't know the real meaning. Like, you could watch it 50 times and still miss things. Every single detail and every single shot means something. To me, this was John Cena facing all of his fears. His fear of getting fired, the fear of his rap career not working, his failed marriage, his fear of turning heel, his fear of being hated for burying talent, and his fear of retiring. Bray finally could make his skills shown to the world in a film-like match. This was perfection. We got a 20-year Cena lore match in about 13 minutes. Cena actually went on a podcast with Chris Van Vliet and said that this is the only match he's ever written.
Wow.
He takes pride in this match like no other. And he said that Bray is a great, compelling mind. Bray would have a couple more cinematic matches, but none could ever compare. Bray would end up becoming a pawn for Roman Reigns, And once we got that new cool character, it was over for the Fiend. Bliss and the Fiend would get paired up together and they looked so sick, but it was too supernatural and cringy. The Fiend would get burnt up, and to the shock of literally every single wrestling fan there is, Bray Wyatt would get fired. This pissed everybody off. One of the most creative guys in wrestling was gone just like that. Bray was in the same spot yet again. This killed his confidence. Also during this time, Bray would lose one of his best friends in BRODIE Lee. RIP to BRODIE Lee and Bray. It's crazy how they're both gone. This was around the same time also where the rumors were going crazy. Where was Bray Wyatt going to go? Was he going to go to AEW? Was he going to go to WWE? Was he going to go to TNA? Who the hell would go to TNA? Well, the WWE would take a major turn. Vince McMahon would retire, the main guy that didn't understand Bray. In his place would be someone that did understand Bray. Triple H. If there was ever a time, this was it. In September of 2022, these rabbit QR codes would start popping up. You could scan these codes on your phone and these would pop up some cryptic messages. These would pop up week after week and they'd finally be revealed at Extreme Rules 2022. The puppets in real form shown throughout the crowd, the Fiend, the Fireflies, showing the beat-up, cobweb-ridden Firefly Funhouse with distorted music, to then finally, the door opening. And out comes Bray Wyatt, one of the most badass spectacles we've ever seen. Once again, Bray Wyatt delivered. For the first time ever though, we'd get the real Bray. He was finally talking to us as a man, his eyes watering, his voice quivering, the real genuine passion. We all love Bray, and I'm so glad we got to feel this reception. What we also got in this run was Uncle Howdy. I honestly don't really like the Howdy stuff, but we really didn't get to see much of it, as unfortunately, on August 24th, 2023, Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt, would pass away. The WWE would give Bray a chilling tribute. It was so beautiful. Bray's legacy will live on forever. Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt's real-life brother, would carry on the legacy with the Wyatt Six. I was kind of hard on this group, but I kind of changed my mind a little bit. But it's all for a good purpose. Who better to trust than his own brother? It also gives more people a spot. Before then, Bo Dallas and Eric Rowan weren't in any mainstream wrestling company, and now they get a spot. Same with Nikki, Loomis, and Gacy. Every single interview clip I see of wrestlers talking about Bray, it's always good vibes. Bray was a father, a wrestler, a good dude, a legend, who was loved by everybody. If wrestling was a song, Bray perfected the flow, the lyrics, and the delivery. He was always held back by the beat. Every single time he'd get something going, he got derailed in some way. This guy had it all. The way he would speak, you just felt it. If you ever listen to Tupac rap, he wasn't the most technical, he didn't have the best flow, but the way he spoke just moved you. He meant every single word he said. I saw an old interview of Bray talking about the way he did his promos, and everything was organic. No script. It was a real way of life. Bray just fell victim to the WWE booking curse. He always came back though. He always gave it his all. Bray is one of those characters you need on a weekly wrestling show. You paid attention to every single minute, and he didn't need a title to make noise. Really quickly, I just want to mention my personal favorite moments and matches of Bray Wyatt. So I was watching Elimination Chamber 2017 with my family, and everybody I knew on Xbox knew me as a huge Cena fan. So when Cena got eliminated, I literally got like 25 party invites from my friends. They were trolling the shit out of me. I was so mad, I can't lie. But my family was actually happy for Bray Wyatt, and that is crazy because they are mad WWE casuals. And if they liked Bray, then that's how you know he was tough. Two of the guys that were trolling me are actually deceased, so rest in peace to my bros. But anyways, another moment that I loved was the Daniel Bryan versus the Wyatts. The Wyatts were perfect heels to elevate Bryan even more, and when Daniel turned, it was still crazy to see this. To this day, the loudest yes chants ever, in my opinion. Another moment was when Bray and Roman teamed up on Raw, and they hit the hardest, coldest combo I've ever seen in my life. The Shield versus the Wyatts. Every time they faced off. They got holy shit chants like every time they even looked at each other. Like I talked about earlier, the segment with Cena and the kids were like, "Sing with me, children, the little bitty babies." This was an unreal masterclass. 2015 Royal Rumble, Bray Wyatt was dogging out all, like the whole Rumble, everybody, and he was the only one in the ring. The counter would start, and at number 7, we got the Boogeyman. I don't know why, but as a kid, I loved this interaction. Everything he did as The Fiend in the beginning was fantastic. It literally brought me back into wrestling. But with my favorite probably being the Firefly Funhouse match. Last but not least, his return at Extreme Rules 2022. Probably the most perfectly executed return in WWE history, with 15,000 strong chanting "Holy shit" by the end of it. We will never ever forget about Bray Wyatt. Even though the booking team failed him, he still had a very memorable career. With all that being said, let me know what you think about the comments. Did WWE fail him, or was he just hard to book? Regardless though, rest in peace to Brodie Lee, and rest in peace to Bray Wyatt.